Every year, archaeology pushes the boundary of what we know about the past. A single artifact, a fragment of a building, or even the faint trace of an ancient settlement can reshape our understanding of entire civilizations, forcing historians to rewrite chapters of human history. And 2025 has been no exception. So far, a wealth of discoveries has emerged, from newly uncovered Egyptian tombs to the remains of a long-lost Peruvian city, each offering fresh insight into the lives of those who came before us. So today we're going to explore the top 5 archaeological discoveries of this year, 2025, so far, each more revealing and transformative than the last. Few works of literature have been read, studied, and discussed as extensively as Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. While both epics are filled with larger-than-life heroes, none has captured the imagination quite like Odysseus, save perhaps Achilles. According to the tales, Odysseus was the king of Ithaca, a real island kingdom in the Ionian Sea and a modern municipality just west of mainland Greece. When the Trojan War erupted, Odysseus was among the Greek kings who sailed across the sea to reclaim Helen. Renowned as the master strategist, he was the man behind the Trojan horse, the ruse that finally broke Troy after a decade-long siege. Yet his triumph was followed by a far greater ordeal, a homeward journey that should have lasted months but stretched into another 10 years, delayed by mythical obstacles such as the Cyclops Polyphemus and the sorcerer Circe. When he finally returned, Odysseus reclaimed his throne by slaying the suitors who had overrun his palace during his absence. For centuries, many historians have regarded the story as pure myth. Still, some have argued that Homer's epics may contain kernels of historical truth. On Ithaca itself, near the village of Exoge, lies the archaeological site known as the School of Homer. Long recognized as a Bronze Age Mycenaean settlement, the site has fueled speculation about a connection to Odysseus' legendary home. In 2010, archaeologists uncovered the remains of an 8th century BC palace and boldly suggested that it could have been the very palace of Odysseus. Unsurprisingly, the claim was met with widespread skepticism. But in June 2025, new discoveries at the site reignited the debate. Archaeologists unearthed an even older Mycenaean settlement dating to the 13th and 14th century BC. Among the finds were a vast underground cistern built of monolithic stone blocks, the remains of a sprawling complex, and most strikingly, evidence that the site functioned as an Odysseon, or a sanctuary dedicated to the hero cult worship of Odysseus. Tiles stamped with his name and a small bronze bust of the king were discovered within the ruins. Scholars believe that during the Hellenistic and early Roman periods, pilgrims traveled from across the Mediterranean to honor the legendary hero. Though the notion of worshipping a mortal figure may seem unusual today, hero cults were a common feature of ancient Greek religion. Blending ancestor veneration with existing Greek mythology and practices, they often involved rituals such as sacrifices and libations. Whether Odysseus himself truly lived remains uncertain, but one fact is clear. To the ancients, he was as real and revered as Heracles, or even the gods themselves. Just before we continue with today's episode, look, if everything's suddenly shut down tomorrow, the internet, electricity that works, oh no, I can't make YouTube videos anymore. Well, would you even know how to make fire? No, I'm kind of embarrassed. I think the most I'd know about making fire is to kind of do that thing that Tom Hanks does in that Island movie where he gets trapped on the island, where he's like... but then he drills a hole in or something. No, I don't know, but don't worry, because that's where the book comes in. This is the ultimate guide to rebuilding civilization. It's 400 pages of human innovation and discovery, from basics to the bizarre. 180 topics packed with handmade illustrations. You ready to check something out? I'll open this at any page. Let's even choose one purposefully towards the back. And it's going to be beautifully illustrated. It always is. Now we'll choose one in the middle. It always is. Look at that. What is that? Potter's Wheel. Dope. Look, this is a fantastic book. It is a beautiful book. It is something that will sit on the table in your lounge and you'll constantly be flicking it open instead of doom scrolling, which is nice, isn't it? Also, it raised $3.2 million on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and it shows because this is just a really nice piece of work. Heavy paper, smart bindings. It's just a really nice thing. It's perfect for your shelf, your coffee table, or as a gift. So use the code Sideprojects10 at the link below. And just go pick yourself up a copy. Why not? Sideprojects10 at the link below. And now back to today's video. Of all the dynasties of ancient Egypt, few are as celebrated as the 18th dynasty of the New Kingdom. Beginning around 1550 BC, with Pharaoh Thutmose I's expulsion of the Hyksos, the dynasty endured for nearly 300 years until 1292 BC. During that time, Egypt experienced its golden age under rulers like Queen Hatshepsut and Amenhotep III, an era marked by military expansion, immense wealth, and the construction of monumental temples at Luxor and Karnak. The dynasty also produced figures of enduring fascination like Akhenaten, who controversially attempted to replace Egypt's traditional religion with a form of monotheism, and Tutankhamun, whose tomb discovered in 1922 stunned the world with its wealth of treasures. For over a century after Tutankhamun's tomb was uncovered, no other royal tomb from the dynasty was found. All were accounted for, except for one, the tomb of Pharaoh Thutmose II. That changed in February 2025. A British-led excavation in the western valleys of the Theban necropolis near Luxor announced the discovery of the long-lost tomb, the first royal Egyptian tomb uncovered by a British team since Howard Carter's discovery of Tutankhamun's in 1922. What made the find especially puzzling was its location, nearly 2 kilometers or 1.2 miles outside of the Valley of the Kings, in an area typically reserved for royal women and lesser nobles. So, when the team began their investigation, they expected to uncover a minor burial. Instead, they unearthed an empty chamber whose ceiling was still partially painted deep blue and adorned with yellow stars, celestial motifs reserved only for pharaohs. The evidence suggested that they'd found the elusive tomb of Thutmose II, who ruled around 1493 to 1479 BC, the husband of Hatshepsut and ancestor of Tutankhamun. Though Thutmose's mummy may have been recovered from a cache of royal remains in the Theban necropolis more than 200 years ago, his original burial site had remained a mystery until now. The chamber itself was accessed through a large staircase and a massive descending corridor, both clogged with rubble from collapsed ceilings and centuries of flood debris. This natural barricade had likely kept the tomb hidden and undisturbed. Upon further study, archaeologists concluded that the tomb had been deliberately emptied only a few years after Thutmose's death, likely because it had been constructed beneath a waterfall, leaving it vulnerable to flooding. His body and funerary goods appear to have been relocated for protection. Among the most significant finds were fragments of alabaster jars, some inscribed with the names of Thutmose II and Queen Hatshepsut. Apart from his mummy, these are the first objects ever directly tied to his burial. Beyond solving a centuries-old mystery, the discovery has broader implications. The unusual location of the tomb suggests that Egypt was in a transitional phase in royal burial practices, shifting from traditions of the Old Kingdom toward those that would define the New Kingdom. As such, this find doesn't just shed light on the fate of Thutmose II, it illuminates a turning point in ancient Egyptian history itself. In 43 AD, Roman legions under Emperor Claudius invaded Britain, beginning nearly 4 centuries of occupation. During this time, Rome transformed the island, introducing new systems of government, engineering advanced roads and forts, and establishing thriving towns. Among the most successful was Londinium, the settlement that would grow into modern-day London. First referenced by Tacitus around 60 AD, during Boudicca's rebellion, it was already regarded as a bustling commercial hub and the seat of Roman power in Britain. Although its exact founding date is uncertain, Londinium was almost certainly established shortly after Rome's invasion began. Today, London is a sprawling metropolis of over 9 million people, yet traces of its Roman past still lay beneath its streets. In February 2025, one of the most extraordinary finds of Roman-era London was uncovered at 85 Gracechurch Street in the heart of the city's financial district. The site, slated for redevelopment into a 32-story skyscraper, was first examined by archaeologists who cut narrow trenches into the concrete floor to check for buried remains. To their astonishment, they unearthed a substantial piece of Roman masonry lying directly beneath the office building's foundation. A full excavation followed, revealing limestone foundation walls up to 4 meters or 13 feet deep. The structure was immense, measuring roughly 40 meters or 130 feet long, 20 meters or 65 feet wide, and 12 meters or 40 feet high, and dated between 78 and 84 AD. A roof tile stamped with an official city mark provided a crucial clue. The archaeologists had uncovered a basilica, part of a larger Roman forum at Londinium. Basilicas served as the administrative heart of Roman towns, hosting legal proceedings, enforcing new laws and taxes, and acting as gathering places for commerce, public announcements, and news from the wider empire. This discovery not only represented the first known governmental building in London, but also one of the largest Roman structures ever found in Britain, effectively London's first true town hall. Archaeologists believe the basilica stood for only about 2 decades before being replaced by a larger forum complex, reflecting Londinium's rapid rise as a commercial and political hub. Remarkably, much of the original structure remains intact. In response, Woods Baggart, the architectural firm overseeing the redevelopment, announced major design changes to preserve the site. The tower will be scaled back with fewer elevators and a reduced height, while the remains of the basilica will be incorporated into the skyscraper's basement. Plans are underway to transform the space into a public museum, offering visitors a rare opportunity to stand inside London's very first civic building and witness its Roman origins firsthand. At the same time Egypt was raising its pyramids, the Americas were undergoing their own construction boom. Led by the Norte eco-civilization, also known as the Corral or Corral Supe of Peru, their most renowned settlement, the sacred city of Corral Supe, has long been studied and dated to around 5,000 years ago, making it the oldest known city of the oldest known civilization in the Americas. Yet the sacred city was only one of roughly 30 major urban centers attributed to this culture. Far from primitive, these cities featured remarkable innovations, including sophisticated residential districts, vast plazas, ceremonial temples, and even earthquake-resistant pyramids. Although no evidence of warfare, fortifications, or even the written word has been found, the Corral people excelled in advanced irrigation, textile production, mathematics, musical instruments, and more. In fact, their early achievements strongly influenced later Andean civilizations, including the Shavan and the Nazca. From around 3500 BC until their decline between 1800 and 1700, the Corral dominated Peru's central coast, particularly the Supe Valley. After their fall, it would be nearly 1,000 years before the Shavan rose to prominence, building upon the Corral's cultural foundations. While there is evidence of continued human activity in the region during the gap, there is little to suggest a direct continuation of Corral societal structures. Still, their legacies of urban planning, monumental architecture, and social organization somehow managed to live on in the cultures that followed. Then, in July 2025, archaeologists working in Peru's northern Barranca province, about 193 kilometers or 120 miles north of Lima and near the sacred city of Corral Supe, announced a groundbreaking discovery at a site that they'd been excavating since 2017. They revealed the remains of 18 structures dating between 1800 and 1500 BC, roughly contemporaneous with Corral's decline. These included ceremonial temples, residential complexes, and public buildings, all forming a previously unknown city, Penico. At its heart lay a massive plaza with its walls adorned with sculpted reliefs of patutus, conch-shell trumpets used for music, and ritual, a symbol that connects Penico both to Corral's love of music and to later Andean traditions. Excavations also uncovered artifacts such as beaded necklaces, clay figurines of people and animals, stone tools, and ritual objects. Together, these findings suggest Penico thrived as a vibrant trade hub around 3,500 years ago. Its location, about 600 meters or 2,000 feet above sea level, was strategic, serving as a crossroads that linked coastal communities with the Supe and Harara valleys and connected the Andes to the Amazon. This unique position has led researchers to nickname Penico the City of Social Integration, a place where diverse peoples converged for trade, ceremony, and cultural exchange. Like Corral before it, Penico shows no evidence of warfare or violent collapse. Instead, it appears to have flourished as a peaceful center of commerce and community, bridging the gap between the Corral Supe and the later civilizations that would rise across the Andes. For centuries, the image of prehistoric Scotland was shaped largely by Roman propaganda. To the Romans, the Picts of Caledonia were little more than savages, uncivilized, disorganized, and incapable of agriculture or city building. The historian Cassius Dio described them as living primitively in swampy plains and wild mountains, while Ptolemy and Tacitus dismissed them as scattered tribes without any real societal structure. Yet archaeology has painted a very different picture of Scotland's ancient past. At Skara Brae in the Orkney Islands, researchers uncovered one of the best-preserved Neolithic villages in the world, dating back over 5,000 years. The site revealed houses with built-in furniture, central hearths, storage areas, and even rudimentary toilets with drainage systems, all clear evidence that complex, organized life thrived in Scotland long before the Romans ever arrived. Then in 2025, two discoveries added even more depth to this history. The first came in July, when a team from Guard Archaeology began digging in Carnoustie, a coastal town in eastern Scotland, ahead of construction for some new soccer fields. What they found was nothing short of extraordinary. The largest ancient timber building ever discovered in Scotland, dating to around 4000 BC, making it a full 1,000 years older than both Stonehenge and Skara Brae. The massive structure stretched 35 meters or 115 feet long, with wattom and door walls, roof beams of monumental size, and evidence of interior divisions revealed by post holes and floor channels. While this find was extraordinary enough, nearby archaeologists found a second, slightly smaller building of about 20 meters or 65 feet. This one contained a central hearth, along with charred hazelnut shells and cereal grain, suggesting it served primarily as a domestic dwelling. Together, these buildings point to one of the earliest known farming communities in Scotland, and yet ritual objects such as axes buried in the walls hint that the site also carried ceremonial significance, perhaps functioning as a gathering or pilgrimage site where people from across the region came for unknown purposes. Just a month later, Guard archaeology made headlines again after a remarkable find in Guardbridge, a historic village only 5 kilometers or 3 miles northwest of St Andrews. Here, at a housing development site, archaeologists uncovered evidence of nearly 10,000 years of continuous human activity. Pits from the Upper Paleolithic contained charred cereal grains, pottery fragments, and saddle querns, tools used to grind grain belonging to early Neolithic farmers. From the Bronze Age, they discovered the remains of a fort filled with loom weights, spindle whorls, and fragments of shell bracelets, suggesting both textile production and domestic life. Later, Iron Age roundhouses were uncovered, though after this period the record appears less clear, leaving open the question of whether the site was abandoned or simply changed in ways we have yet to fully understand. Finally, artifacts from the Middle Ages, including corn-drying kilns dating from 900 to 1300 AD, confirmed that habitation in the area continued well into medieval times. Together, these discoveries dismantle the old Roman stereotype of Scotland as wild and uncivilized. Instead, they reveal a landscape of vibrant, complex communities stretching back thousands of years that included farmers, builders, artisans, and ritual practitioners whose legacies are still being uncovered, piece by piece. Thank you for watching.